Hi, y'all.
Hey.
Thank you for joining me tonight.
To talk about ghosts and the paranormal. As you all know, we live in an area with lots of history and mystery. And the mystery of the life after life is what I want to hear about tonight. Does anybody have a good ghost story they would like to share?
I got one.
You know, I've done a lot of profiles over the years, but I've never done one on an actual dead person who works in a morgue.
Hello, my name is Mildred Nightingale. I'm born in 1902 in Seattle, Washington, to my parents, Vera and Albert Nightingale. I discovered my love for nursing around 1917 with the onset of tuberculosis and the Spanish flu. I went to nursing school at the University of Washington. I decided at that point in time that I was going to dedicate my life to the ailing, disabled, and the medically frail. Along with the deceased and diseased. I passed in 1967. So 56 and 67, 123. We are here at the Georgetown Mork. This is where I reside. I have been here from 1928 to 1967, and then dead from 1967 to present. Welcome to the morgue! What I do exactly is I walk through the morgue. I make sure all of our orderlies are tending to the cadavers accordingly. My tools, stethoscope, of course, to make sure that you are alive, trochanter, and various embalming tools, cadaver dissections, saws, suctions, you name it, we got it. We treat visitors with a welcoming arm. We'll even show you free disembowelment, free cadaver testing, anything you would like to see. My mission is to make sure that everybody is safe and sound, and whether they're alive or dead, we make sure that they are in their utmost pristine condition.
Yeah, but that devil scared me. Go ahead.
When they leave, whether it be in a casket or out the back door.
Wow, Hoppy, that was really cool. You know, it's interesting that you talked to a dead person, because I know someone who's trying to do exactly the same thing. His name's Ross Allison. He's a ghost hunter, and he took me to the Everett Theater to find out if ghosts can touch you.
It's something that humanity has asked since the start of time. Where do we go?
Come touch me.
Whether it's a push or a tap on the shoulder, these are experiences that people have been reporting for hundreds of years.
You heard that too, right?
We really don't know what a ghost is. How does it manifest? What's going on in the environment? I just want to know the real answers. I am Ross Allison, president and founder of A Ghost. I also am the head host of Parasense. So Parasense is the first-time documentary that is trying to document touch when it comes to spirits touching individuals.
Have you ever been touched by a ghost before?
Yes.
When you're trying to prove touch, you need to see what's happening to the physical body. Because a lot of people have always asked me, why nudity? Well, when you're wearing clothing, and you feel like maybe something tapped you on your shoulder, it becomes contaminated evidence.
Something touched my leg again.
For the past 7 years, I've just been trying to put together a bunch of different experiments and also develop new equipment that can help us to determine if there is something happening in the environment that can, correlate with a physical encounter.
I really don't want to be here right now.
We are monitoring temperature, EMF, motion, barometer, and light. All those different meters are helping us to see if there's anything changing. Because we're trying to bring the invisible world to our vision.
You're never getting out.
This system It has a hand sensor that reads your electrodermal activity, and then it takes that data and it translates it into all of these charts and graphs. We ended up finding out that in this screen in particular, there would be times where someone would say, oh, I just had something cold brush across my stomach.
But I felt something around my toe.
And then holes would appear in the simulation. Our jaws just hit the floor when we see it align perfectly. I can't wait to see what else we can capture.
I would say that the Everett Theater is definitely a treasure. And Iris has been here for so long. Some of the stories that she's told me are absolutely fascinating about this place.
You said you felt like you got touched?
Yes, twice. My name is Iris Lilly, and I am one of the co-owners. So the Everett Theater, when it was first built back in 1901, it had a kind of fire before it even got completely finished. There are several ghosties that supposedly are here that people have seen or heard. Tons of people get touched here. It happened after my sister Laura died. I was doing a hunt here, and I said, oh, I just got touched. And when I went back and I was listening to my EVPs, right before I got touched, I swear it was my sister's voice, and she said, I'm going to touch you. That's why I call them ghosties, because they're like family. They're not ghosts, they're ghosties.
One of the things with Parasense is we are the first to track phenomena.
Hey, you in the corner here.
We were able to track one of our subjects from the very beginning to the end. A scratch appeared on them. That was a very emotional part for me. That was like, this is what I've been searching for pretty near my whole life. I've had my own personal experiences, and yet I always constantly find myself doubting myself.
The cold, but I'm sweating.
And I want to put those doubts aside for me personally. I want to know that there are ones and zeros that can back up my experience, and that I can take that out to the public. And if you're not a believer in ghosts, well, here's the data. How do you argue that?
All right, let's put a little more wood on the fire here. When we come back, I'm going to tell you about a story about UFOs down in Chehalis, Washington. Check this out. All right, now we got this thing going. So, like, aliens are kind of a hot topic. Down in Chehalis, Washington, they celebrate them in a weird way.
Tonight at the Northwest Flying Saucer Film Fest, we're going to be showing 19 Northwest-produced short films.
Yeah, enjoy.
Documentaries. Animations and music videos, all dealing with the UFO alien phenomena.
We had submissions from like all over the Northwest.
The flying saucer is iconic. It's like as recognizable as the Golden Arches or Mickey Mouse. And it's really amazing that that all started from an event that happened here in Chehalis, Washington.
And this is kind of, you know, the tale of Kenneth Arnold here. So my name is Jason Matson. I'm the executive director at the Lewis County Historical Museum. Spaceship that he saw. So Kenneth Arnold, he's an Idaho businessman who would fly from town to town selling fire extinguisher equipment. As he was leaving the Chehalis airport, he was flying up over Mineral, Washington, and looking towards Mount Rainier. He saw like a glimmer of light, and he was able to see 9 flying objects that were flying in like a V formation. So he radioed ahead, and he landed in Yakima and talked to a reporter who interviewed him and misquoted him. And the reporter called them flying saucers, and because of his description. But because of that, the term flying saucer took off and became like a cultural phenomenon.
Hello, let me give you a pamphlet here.
From that description, the term flying saucer was born.
That same year, Kenneth Arnold took flight, and I'll never forget what I saw.
Back to you, Ken.
The what ifs, the possibilities.
And I've also seen dozens of UFOs.
It was actually cigar-shaped,
flashing lights, and flew away.
I believe it's a big universe, it's a big galaxy. I think we're foolish to think that we're the only ones around, so yeah.
We're gonna just make this thing bigger and better, and we're looking forward to coming back next year.
The Walker Ames house. I spent a few hours taking a tour in the most haunted house in all of Washington.
This house certainly provides a lot of evidence of the paranormal. Hello, it's Pete. Anybody's up here with us, please say hello. In 1888 and finished in 1889, built for William Walker, who was the master mechanic for the mill, and his wife Emma and their daughter Maud. Maud Walker married Edwin Ames. They all lived there together, which is how we get the name Walker Ames House. They moved in 1925 and went to Seattle, and then it became the most expensive house to rent in town and was inhabited until 1995 when the sawmill closed, and then everybody in Port Gamble moved out. So nobody's lived in there since. Right up here, I actually physically ran into somebody. I took over doing the Port Gamble Ghost Walk tours in 2011. Around the corner into this closet, there was like 4 loud, sounded like cowboy boots on the wood floor. I do a lot of the tours in October because that's the only time ghosts come out. You know, that's just what everyone thinks. You can see apparitions. You might see a shadow person. You might get touched. It was like I ran into Walter Jones from the Seahawks. You might hear voices or somebody running across the floor above you when you know nobody's there. People have reported very frequently over the years of seeing a woman staring down at the street from the windows. We don't really know exactly who she is. She may have been somebody who worked in the house. Children are often experienced up here. There are at least 2, a boy and a girl, but there could be others. You can see their heads peeking up out of the attic windows, like they're looking out, looking to see what's going on out there. We think historically when guests were in the home, the children were sent up here. Investigators have brought toys over the years as trigger objects. Can you knock the dominoes over? Can you play a note on the piano? I've had numerous experiences with a female child who says her name is Annabelle up on the 2nd floor of the house. This is where I've had the bulk of my experiences. There was a spirit of a boy that has typically always been in the basement. We call him Robert. A lot of investigators feel that the boy likes coins. So over the years, investigators have left him something when they come and investigate here. Another experience that I personally had with a private tour group where we heard a noise behind me, and it was a woman standing behind me who was not a part of our private tour group. She cast a shadow on the wall and was gone as soon as we all gasped. At that point, everyone wanted to leave and not come back in. It's great to be open to having experiences, open to the possibility of having an experience, but it's also great to try and have a logical explanation for what's going on as well. That wasn't latched, so okay. I think that's what the sound was. Okay. So we'll go ahead and latch that. I think the more that we experience, the more normal the paranormal becomes. I get spooked out just like everybody else, but the evidence keeps me coming back. My best opinion as to why it's so haunted here is people love it and they don't want to leave. I feel like I can relate to that living here for so long. I feel like I'm going to haunt this town someday.
Hey, let's take a break. I got to freshen up my drink, but when we come back, I'm going to tell you all a story that Brandon Davis told me about a lighthouse down in Long Beach. Well, now that we're back and all refreshed, do you guys know that Long Beach is considered the graveyard of the Pacific? Brandon Davis was telling me that not only do the waters have a history, but the lighthouses down there also have a lore all their own.
The life of lighthouse keepers and their families was very difficult. They lived very isolated existences. And then it was 24-hour-a-day service. And so 1923, the name of the lighthouse keeper was Alexander Pasonin.
Him and his wife, Mary, lived here for a good number of years, tending to all of the duties and the hardship and the solitude that you find here, as most lighthouse keepers do in the remote areas they were working in.
And I understand she had suffered for a number of years from what they called in those days melancholia, and she had just come back from a stay in a sanitarium in Portland.
She woke up early to take a walk with their dog, Jerry, and she told her husband she'd see him a little bit later and let him have a little bit of a sleep in.
Unfortunately, Jerry came back, but she did not. So her husband and others went out looking for Mary Pisonin. They found her coat at the top of a cliff by the North Head Lighthouse, and they found her body at the rocks down below. And then within a few decades, stories started circulating about ghosts being seen, or a ghost being seen in and around the North Head Lighthouse, in the lighthouse keeper's house, and people started to believe it was the ghost of Mary Pisonin. I would lead tours of the Long Beach Peninsula, and on one of those tours, an elderly lady was sitting on the trolley, and she talked about how she had gone to North Head Lighthouse as a child with her parents. As they were climbing the spiral staircase up, she saw a woman staring down at her from the top of the staircase wearing old-fashioned clothing. And she said it scared her to death. She ran out of the lighthouse and she hadn't been back since. And I said, well, there are ghost stories about the lighthouse keeper's wife, Mary Pisonin, and there are photographs of her online. So I pulled out my iPhone, showed her the photograph, and of course she said, that's the face I saw staring at me from the top of the spiral staircase.
You know, Brandon Davis told me a story about the forever residents of the Shelton Hotel in Long Beach. As the story goes, the ghosts there aren't just residents, but they're like family.
The Long Beach Peninsula is like no other place I've ever been. It's a beautiful area unlike any other, with the Columbia River going out into the Pacific Ocean, and with a great history.
It's a hard place to get to even now, and we have developed very slowly because in the past we were even harder to reach.
Many people have lived there, their families have lived there for generations. However, there's also a sense of tragedy. Again, it's a beautiful area, and yet there's a sense that tragedy has happened in that area, which it has. And so that has fueled hundreds of ghost stories.
I think they do. I think people do come here, especially this time of year, for the ghosts. The Shelburne Hotel is the oldest continuously running hotel in the state of Washington.
The Shelburne is a wonderful hotel, and it's been haunted for quite a while, I understand.
There have been many sightings within the Shelburne. There have been things like temperature changes, knocking on the wall, doors with no one inside that have been locked from the inside.
We currently have self-guided ghost tours that you can do here. There's 4 ghosts. Nina, who lives in the attic. It's cold in here. There's Georgina, who walks the hallway between the 2 stairwells on the 2nd floor. There's Annie Mae, who is usually in the garden, is where all the weddings happen. And she is a romantic and wants to stay out there.
The original owner, his name I believe was Charles Beaver. He lived there with his wife and daughter, and while they were working on the hotel, he broke his arm. And so most of the work fell to his wife and daughter. Years later, the hotel started experiencing hauntings, and the thought was that it was the ghost of Charles Beaver, who felt so bad for what happened, and that he left his wife and daughter sort of holding the bag and having to do all the work, that he was coming back, and he actually was viewed as being a helpful ghost.
Walking around here at night when it's quiet, there's all kinds of creaking happening. The building is kind of always settling.
One of the stories, one of the ghost stories about the Shelburne Hotel is that a woman came to the hotel, and I believe she was planning on having dinner.
She was going across the walkway up there, and she met a man, and he was very nice, and he talked to her, and he said he would like to he would like to see her at dinner. And she thought at first he was asking her to dinner, but no, he wanted to see her at dinner, and if she would sit right at the bottom of these stairs, he could look down and see her.
So she sat down at the table, and he never came.
She looked up to see if he was up there. No evidence of him. And when she asked the hotel people about him, they didn't have anybody staying there, but they didn't know anything about him. And we think that might have been Charles Beaver, but we're not sure. I like that one a lot, though.
I mean, yeah, we're into hospitality. We want everyone to feel welcome here, living or dead.
So let's take a quick break. We'll get the fire going, we'll grab some drinks. But when we come back, Michael Driver was telling me about the Pantages Theater in Tacoma and the haunts that live there. So Michael Driver was telling me a story about the Pantages Theater in Tacoma. That story has a rich history, and some of that history has never left.
One of the great things about the Pantages is that you get to see how far vengeance can propel you in life.
We are standing inside the Pantages Theater. It was built in 1918 by Alexander Pantages.
The Pantages is the crown jewel of tragedy and ghost stories.
There is an usher
who will help escort people to their seats, and when they turn around, he is not there.
People have heard a woman singing opera when there should be no opera singers at all in the building.
Apparently, she makes eye contact with you from in this area, and before you even twig what's happening, she finishes and she vanishes.
There's a bathroom just off of the prop room down here that gets a ton of dark energy.
Carefully labeled for us, scary room. When it is dark and you're the only person in here, or you're leading a ghost tour through the building, this room has a weird energy. It feels a little off, especially when you kind of head to this back corner.
I always reuse this building to remind people, you know, this fight between Alexander and Catherine.
Go read your history books and get the history of Pantages and Klondike Kate, because it's absolutely fascinating.
Founder Alexander Pantages.
With the help of his mistress, Klondike Kate.
She'd given all the money for him to open this chain of theaters, and when they were opening this one,
the building was built, it launched, she was like, great, he's gonna marry me now, put a ring on my finger.
He sent her a letter being like, by the way, I'm married now and I'll never see you again.
He'd run off to Seattle and married a violinist.
Thanks for the money.
Her heart was broken. She tried to sue him for breach of promise. She lost.
And now both of their spirits are locked inside this building.
So now, the ghost of Kate, who will show up on our stage here and be seen walking across the stage. I very clearly watched a woman walk across the stage right there. Never shows up at the same time as Mr. Pantages. That corner of the building twice. The end of the night, we were done. I was turning things off, and I put the ghost light here, and there was someone standing right there looking at me. I'd done a little research and kind of knew who I was looking at. Hi, Mr. Pantages, how you doing?
She likes to hang out in this one. People will tell me someone's been in there a long time, and I'll keep checking. No, it's just Kate. Third sink that sometimes likes to turn on. For no reason and turn off. I think she thinks she can cause a bit of mischief, and she caused a lot of mischief in her life. The lights flicker, you're like, oh, Kate's not happy. What's going wrong? What's happening? Let's fix it. Oh, yep, there you go.
No ghost is gonna come here with bad intent. Everybody that comes here is here because they love the space, they love what we do, they're welcome.
Theater is a place of happiness and a place of joy. And people come in here, they leave all their cares at the door, and they watch people perform and entertain, and they walk out better than when they walked in. And for me, it's not a scary thing, the hauntedness, because at night, when the lights go down and the ghost light goes up, all the spirits who've performed here before come and they relive their best days, their moments, their memories, and it is their time to shine.
I'm pretty sure I won't be sleeping tonight. But if you guys want to relive this experience, you can check it out on the Fox 13 app or any of our connected TV devices. Thank you all for gathering around my fire, and I look forward to hearing more ghost stories about the Pacific Northwest.